Hi and welcome to this episode of my TR6 restoration. It recently struck me that I never introduce myself, my name, and so people begin to think that my name is Treetop Spider, the name I was christened with, but no, it's not the truth. My name is Johnny, so hi all. In this episode I'm working on the last quarter of this TR6, the suspension area, cleaning up, and it happens to be the worst corner. There's more rust in this side than there is anywhere else, so I've got quite a bit of welding to do, and I've started a lot of it. I'll show you what I'm up to at the moment. So excuse the shaky hands. So to begin with, this panel here was completely rotten. There was no saving it, so I've gone out and bought myself a new one, and that will go in nicely like that somehow once I've welded it in. So I've taken off the old one, cleaned up all the old rolls, that's ready to go on. But meanwhile I've got quite a bit of rust going on along here. Here was particularly bad, so I've had to sort of shape a piece of metal to continue the inner wing. It goes up, out and up there. So I made that one and welded it in, not completely yet. And I've also fabricated another piece of metal which will go into there eventually. That should be nice and tight, and then drill a few holes, and that's that area done. But then that leaves me to sort of carry on fixing these areas and a little bit down there as well, and a little bit down there. It goes on, it goes on. This Sunday I went to a classic car show with my son Nick, just local here in Hyde Hall. It's just a local place here in Chelmsford. Anyway, so there were a number of TR6s down there, and you know what, you look at them and they look lovely, but because I'm restoring one, my eye is looking at them differently. I'm thinking to myself, you know what, these might be 20, 25 grand, they might even want 30 plus for them, but when I looked at them in more detail, I thought, who knows what's hidden beneath that undersill and beneath that paint. Which is what I said in probably my previous video, that you could go out and spend a load of money on one of these cars, you know, whether it be a TR6 or an MG or God knows what, whatever it might be, but you don't really know what you're buying unless you've got documented proof of what's been done to the vehicle. And some cars out there have been repaired amazingly to a level that I would never get to, and not in this little garage anyway. But it is scary and it is frightening that some people are parting with their money, and you know what looks like perhaps a blister in the paintwork could end up being something really, really serious, which is why I'm going over the top with this one. Not over the top, no. This is why I want to do this one properly, because if I decide to keep it for the next 20 years, I want to know that for the next 20 years I'm never going to have to do anything else to it. Besides that, I mean, it's a classic car. You barely do 1,000 miles a year in your classic cars nowadays, so they're not going to rust like they normally would have done from back in the day when you were driving them all the time. But nevertheless, it's nice to know that this is going to be as sturdy as anything. I could hand it down to my son and then my grandson for all the work that I'm putting into it. That's how good I want this to be once it's finished. Having said that, I'll probably finish it off and sell it straight away and look for another project, although I've sworn I'm never going to do another classic car again. This one is killing me, but I can't help but keep looking. So that's the first bit welded in. You've got the extension of the inner wing underneath, and then that bit on top. And I've got a feeling I've run out of gas on my MIG welder, because it's not melting the wire as nicely as it has been in the past, so I'm going to have to get hold of some of that, scuff it all down, and anyway I'll start on this bit on another day now. But yeah, it's progression. this one needed a lot more work than the other side. There were a few more holes and some really difficult bolts to undo with this. It gave me a lot of grief. I've spent a lot longer on this one wing than I think than all the other three put together, but having said that, finally managed to finish it. I've got the 4/4 done now, and as I say, they were quite tough for me. Maybe it's just for me because I don't know what I'm doing half the time, and having to refer to other YouTube videos or books or advice and God knows what. So it's taken me a bit of a while. In any case, I think this is probably like the worst part of the job so far. There's quite a bit of welding to do and getting it to look nice and up to the standard where I want it to be. So the next thing is now for me to start working in the boot. Now while I was working on the inside of the arches at the back here, I could see there's a lot of daylight coming through, and decided that I would address them from inside the boot rather than underneath, because I don't have a ramp, and laying on your floor and welding is no fun. You end up with lots of bits of hot metal going down your front there. Any case, just cleared out the boot, and really it's the first time I've properly cleared it out since I've owned the car. Lots of junk in there and remnants of mice nest as well. So I've had a good clear out in there to reveal how bad the boot is. So yeah, the thing is, it is fairly bad, but at the same time it's quite straightforward to repair. You can see I've got holes here and holes up here, some little ones down there, big patches to fill in, but they're straightforward because they're just flat plates really, and then a little skimmer filler and some seam sealer, and that will make that look nice and tidy. On the near side, not so bad. All I've got is this one hole here as far as I can see. Obviously there are patches where I've welded the wing when I was working from the outside. Again, I'll just scurf off the rust, give it a little scurf off the welds. Got there eventually. Give it a skim and seam seal it, and once it's sprayed, that's not going to look bad at all. Now the thing with welding in the boot, it's right close to the petrol tank, and yeah, you know, I could cover it up and be really careful, but to be honest, I don't really think I'll take the chance. And I thought it's also an opportunity to, if I take out the tank, it's an opportunity for me to rinse it out properly, because it did have some old stagnant fuel in there, and it will give me a lot more room, especially when I come to spraying inside the boot and making it nice. Rather than trying to mask around that old thing, I thought it's just better off taking it out. So I've undone the fuel pipe and caught a little bit of fuel, what was left in there now. I was just about to undo the tank and making some space for some welding. So the tank looks pretty straightforward to take off. I've got a couple of bolts up there, look like 7/16, all of them. Be one there and one on the other side there, and a couple underneath. So that's what will release the tank. I've got to somehow separate it from the fuel filler cap, and I can see a Jubilee clip under there which I'll undo, and there are a couple of pipes here which I don't know where they go. Are they breathers? Yeah, a couple of pipes, whatever they are, I'll undo those. I imagine they're breathers. I'll undo those as well. As I say, I've undone the bottom one that goes down to the petrol pump itself, and I think that's it, and I should be able to pull the tank out. So I think the first job is I'll undo the tank from the filler neck by loosening that Jubilee clip. Yep, I can see that's going to go free now. Next, I'm undoing this whatever it is, breather pipe or whatnot, and this one, whatever it might be as well. Working on petrol tanks kind of makes me nervous. Many years ago I heard of a couple of guys who were trying to drain out a tank, and they'd gone underneath and undone the plug at the bottom, the drain plug from the bottom of the tank, and they were filling up metal buckets with the petrol to catch it in. And what had happened is, as they dragged one of the buckets out from underneath the car, it must have created a spark, and the whole thing blew up in flames. It just stayed with me. So I like literally have a phobia of anything to do with petrol tanks, because you've got no chance of putting one of those fires out unless you're properly kitted up. So yeah, don't know why I remembered that. Right, so I've got all the bolts off. Nothing came out in there, hardly. So in theory this should now just come down, unless I'm doing something wrong. Got it. That weren't the hardest job in the world, but at least now I've got good access for when it comes to respraying the inside of the boot, because as you know I'm changing the colour from this whatever you call it to mimosa, and I want to make it all look completely original and catch paint everywhere I can. So I've got much more room to work now. You can see the remnants of a mouse nest there. Horrible. I don't think there are any mice left in there, but you still worry something's going to jump out at you. No, there's nothing in there. Knows what that screw is for. Yeah, so I'll just give this all a quick hoover out, and I can begin welding. With the tank out, all I've got to do now is I want to undo this and take this all off together. I've just slackened off this nut here. Which is I think it's the feed to the front of the car. You can see that these sort of anti-vibration bushes have perished. So I'll be needing to make an order soon for a few bits and pieces. I need to add that on my list. That's that bit off, and now I think all I've got to do is undo these two, then I can pull, yeah, then I can pull all this lot away. That's great. I've cleared the boot right out now, other than the mouse stuff, which I'll get the hoover out, give it all a clean up, and now I can start my preparing and welding.